All right, Barl, thank you so much for being here with me today. Can you please talk to me about the original pain point and the opportunity in the market that you saw to create your company, Atom Security, please?
So it was super obvious. Everyone we spoke with said alert fatigue. Maybe they didn't use these words, alert fatigue, but that was in like those time the biggest issue in cybersecurity, and we solved it specifically for containers.
Wow. Can you break down and just paint a picture of how alert fatigue was an issue and then just like what was going on in a simple way, please?
Yes. So, and I can take you a bit like in the history of cybersecurity. So there is a new category. There are companies that invent new scanners, and then these scanners becoming a commodity. Now you're a customer, Henry. Let's say we can model it. How do you know which scanner is better? Yes,
I don't know.
yeah, you don't know. So you try to look on the vulnerabilities the scanner finds and say, okay, which scanner finds more vulnerabilities? And which, of course, if you find more high or critical, like severe vulnerabilities, that's like means this scanner is better. So over the years, it's created incentive, the wrong incentive for scanners to find more vulnerabilities. So if you take now a container scanner and you run it on a chosen container image for that you would like, let's say Nginx or Python, or doesn't matter which container image, you'll usually have between hundreds to thousands of vulnerabilities, and that's insane. Even before you started developing your like a complex application above it, and most of them are false positives. The scanners are incentivized to show you many vulnerabilities, but actually, when you develop your own application, you want to use, for example, all the libraries on the container. You will use only some of them, but none of the scanners will tell you that because they are not incentivized to do it. So that was our solution. We showed that 95% of the vulnerabilities are false positives.
Wow.
Uh,
So you were like a real scanner. You were like an actual real scanner then that was doing like a real scanner job, whereas the other ones were trying to give like false positives to like sort of.
No, so you still need to run the other ones for compliance, but then you have this process of that for each vulnerability you need to triage it, and you need to understand if it's really important or not. We
Oh,
help in
wow.
this stage until like we basically reverse engineered the entire container image. We found all the flows and which binaries and which functions and which code files are actually calling, are reachable and not reachable. And this way we can tell you, hey, this critical vulnerability that you need to stop production and everyone start working on this vulnerability to mitigate it. It's actually not reachable, so you don't even, it's not so critical.
Wow. That's crazy. And then can you just break down for someone who doesn't know in a simple way like what a container is and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So uh, you have your own computer, that's a laptop. A cloud is a computer or that sits somewhere else. A container is a virtual computer that sits in this cloud. So this way, on one big computer, you can have many small instances that run an operating system, and you can run apps on.
So how did you and your co-founders go from an initial concept on paper to building the first working prototype of Atom?
So there's a funny story. Of course, we started speaking with prospects and potential customers, and we did like mom test. You know, mom test. It's basically um, trying to get evidence from a conversation and understanding this way, understanding what's noise and what's actual problems. And then to validate it, we created a mock. I did like the research on one container. I researched it. I found the vulnerabilities and what's actually reachable and not. So I did what our product eventually did, but I just did it manually. And then we wrote a CLI, like we wrote our own scanner for this specific container image. Does it make sense? We
Wow.
basically made the scanner only for this container image. It printed the vulnerabilities I found and what's reachable and not reachable that I found. It basically was a mock. We showed it to a potential customer. Hey, this is the scanner. This is how it's going to look. Would you like to buy it? And then once we got positive response, a few positive responses, we went to develop it.
So when you did this, was it hard to convince security leads that it was sort of safe to ignore almost 90% of those alerts that they were getting, the false alerts, or how did that go?
So we didn't say ignore, but the state was like it's. You need to understand it. The state was that you have a backlog of thousands of vulnerabilities you're not fixing right now. So anyway, the case was that you're not fixing all the vulnerabilities. So instead of telling you, hey, don't fix it, we just tell you, hey, you can prioritize it better. And with this positive way to show the value, it's easier to convince.
Yeah, because you said you were doing like the triaging and stuff, like prioritizing the.
Yeah,
I
no one's
gotcha.
pays to be lazy. People pay to do something.
So what was like the hardest technical thing to do to make it happen, do you think?
So basically, there are two really huge challenges that we got patent afterwards on them. The first one is reverse engineering a container image and understanding all the flows, which files connected to other files without running it. Everything is static. That's hard. And the other thing is to benchmark our algorithm. So we created this statistical heuristic algorithm, but everything about security is to have to be precise, right? When you sell to enterprise, you need to show you need to show some proof, and that's where our second patent came from, which we found a way to, like with actual kind of mathematical even proof, that we can mitigate the amount of false positive and false negative we have in our heuristics to like a few percents, something really small.
Wow. And how did you do that?
You can read the patent, but basically it's we tried not to reveal it in the patent even because it's like, it's still IP. There's even today there's not many competition, not many companies that manages to take this challenge. But basically we look into all the files, we try to understand the code, we look into the libraries, um, and we simulate all the potential flows in runtime.
So
Of will be in runtime. We try to predict runtime,
how do you
basically.
think sorry. How do you think about like sandboxes? Do you think sandboxes are a good way to test like agents and stuff? Like, how do you think about that right now? Sorry for today.
So
What are your
AI is
thoughts on that?
something entirely else. Like in general, I think with agents, you have tons of benchmarks, and none of them is good enough. And of course, when I'm speaking about when there's the benchmark everyone see, right? Like a terminal bench and memory bench, and you have all of those. That's won't be a good benchmark when you try to build an agent for construction, let's say. So you need your own benchmarks usually, and even if you have hundreds of benchmarks, it still won't be good enough. So I'm not sure a sandbox is a good discussion topic with AI anymore. The discussion topic is how we can use metadata from production that won't reveal any privacy. Like we'll be super okay with the DPA because that's the most important thing. But we'll be able to learn if if we have a regression or not with the thing we changed in the harness.
Wow. And then this is going back, sort of. So a lot of founders struggle with knowing when to sell versus when to keep pushing. How did you know that getting acquired by men.io was the right move at that exact moment?
So it was by accident, actually. Basically, our company acquired before we even raised money. We had a product, it was ready, it was mature before we thought it would be because of ChatGPT and Copilot. That today it's like working with stones, but back then it was amazing, especially for us when you have a small code base. You can be much more leveraged with copy pasting to ChatGPT. And so our product was mature. We started. We have like a few design partners that use our product, Fortune 100, and then we basically got our first offer. But it was like you're probably not interested. If you're interested, let's talk about it. Um, and that's when we said, okay, we have a really good opportunity here. Let's check it out. So we bid this offer, and we got then out of one single offer, we managed to get like a few, and then we took the best one
Why
from
do you
both.
think there
Yeah,
Sorry. Why do you think there was so much interest in your company? Is it because you had such unique technology, or what was it? Do you think?
because the problem we solved was a consensus. We didn't invent the problem. The problem was so obvious. Everyone spoke about alert fatigue. It was the biggest problem at this time. And there were already existing solutions that started on a different type of scanners in cybersecurity, and there was no like it was even thought to be impossible to have a solution for this type of scanners, like container scanners. So it's a non-brainer that if you solved the biggest problem in security for a scanner that no one thought it's possible, it will worth it.
But how
That's
did
why
you?
and that's why we managed to get acquired so early, because we had this patent that showed this algorithm really works, the product works, like proved mathematically, um, and basically the problem was no brainer. It
How
was
did you solve? Sorry, how did you solve it when no one else did? Because everyone, like you just said, everyone knew it was a problem, but they didn't have like that level of sophistication that you had. What gave you the difference, do you think? Was it a unique approach? Did you understand something that obviously you understood something other people didn't, but
yeah.
uh,
The first thing we did was understanding that predicting runtime, it's possible. Everyone will tell you, you can't do it. It's one of the hardest problem on computer science. But we didn't try to solve this problem of predicting everything in runtime. We tried to do it heuristically. So we modeled the problem differently, and that's how we found a solution that was good enough for the industry. So we did some. So it's kind of meeting in the middle between what's possible and what the industry needs, and that's different from how everyone thought about this problem. That was the first thing. The second thing is that we solved the niche. We didn't solve like we didn't try to build huge platform that will replace all your application security tools, all the way you scan vulnerabilities in your code. We tried only to solve it for a niche of containers. Uh, so that's what gave us advantage to be the first and to be the only ones there.
did you like even think about being an entrepreneur before, or did this just you just like, oh my gosh, I have the best thing, I can solve this, and bam,
Yeah, of
that
course,
you have
of
a
course.
company?
I was like from as a child. I like sold. I had a business, and I basically sold things. It was pretty clear for me.
Wow. And then, so you recently posted about tiny 11-person teams generating massive revenue, like Hyperliquid making $80 million per employee. Do you think the era of 500-person tech companies is sort of being displaced in favor of ultra small AI leveraged teams?
No, I don't think so. I think that's everyone. uh, Everyone. I think it's possible to be more leveraged, but if you have a big market and each person can be more leveraged, why not getting more smart people that can be more leveraged and then build something even bigger? Um, if you think you can build huge product and they can take more market, why not?
So you made a great point on LinkedIn that people shouldn't build custom AI agents for every single niche product, comparing it to building custom web browsers in the 90s. Where do you think most tech companies are wasting time with AI right now, from what you see?
And most of them will try to develop their own custom tools, their own custom workflows, using some frameworks or not, doesn't matter really, with the vibe coding. And that's huge waste of time. First, it means there's a bottleneck on the people that needs to find the issue AI can solve, develop it, deploy it, then maintain it, and they don't have the technical skills. Usually, it's a mess, and it's very slow. If you want to win your competitors and become like a real leveraged AI native company that is leveraged, you need to accelerate this process. You need to find a way that everyone will use AI to work, not to draft emails, and not just one. Even developers, they have between 1 to 4 cloud codes, right, or cursors. That's too small. You want to be leveraged with hundreds of agents, ideally. And the world is still not there, but there are a few companies that are there, and we need to everyone needs to study from them.
If you were starting over from scratch today, how does AI change like the game compared to when you started AI Atom Security several years ago?
So I think always in the history there was a way to be more leveraged. It's usually on the intersection between AI and what you're actually doing, what's your category. For example, in finance, usually people will be more leveraged, right? There can be one person that manages a lot of money. Um, I think the same is going to become with software. Now so the bar is just becoming lower to be more leveraged. So if you choose the right category you're building in, um, you can use coding agents and general agents to become like 100x. And in general, I would say something that I think it's important and people don't really think about it. If you're doing work manually, that is not working, you really need to ask yourself, hey, can AI do it? For example, design is something AI is pretty bad at. You still, of course, you're using AI for everything, but design is something that you can't take an agent without human in the loop and make it on the top 0.1%. But there are many other things that people today do manually that should be done with automatic processes. And ideally, I think humans will be the best creative managers and will orchestrate hundreds of agents.
I'm just thinking, you're talking about leverage. Do you think now that one like obviously AI like we talked about is leverage. Do you think that will like enable one malicious actor to do much more, or what are your thoughts on that? Because also people defending can be leveraged too. So I don't understand it.
Pretty sure it's already done, and we just don't know about it. Like in cybersecurity, the good like successful. If you hear about it, it means it failed. If you hear about Russian mafia cyber attack, it's probably failed. So we didn't hear for a long time about a team of 5 people that did the entire stack end to end and hacked into banks. Um, you'll never know, right? But it's just reasonable to think that smart people, usually like the highest job the highest salary job is cyber attacker in the world today. So really smart people. It's just reasonable to assume these smart people will use AI to send, instead of 100 email, thousands of emails of phishing. And instead of finding one vulnerability a year, they will find 10 vulnerabilities a year. And instead of developing one virus, they will make 10. I think it would be weird to assume not, because we didn't hear about it for a long time.
And then, I mean, so what kind of opportunities has AI opened in security, do you think?
Infinite. For example, in application security, it's basically everything is code, right? In application security, you try to secure code to make sure you have no vulnerabilities in code. So I remember like 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, just after the acquisition, I told someone in Mend, the company that acquired us, that you may be in a like it may be maybe even soon that you'll be able to take all your code and copy paste it into ChatGPT and ask for vulnerabilities. Um, and today, okay, it's not like this. You don't copy paste it to ChatGPT, but you send it to Cloud Code, and Cloud Code knows how to analyze it. I think like they will never know how exactly things will resolved, but the fact that AI can find vulnerabilities, it means most of the application security tools need to be pivoted to something else. So that's something.
Doing what you do with security, are you going to be using more frontier models or more open source models, do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Or does it matter at all to you?
Yes, so it's matter if you want to simulate attacks. So you'll usually try to use probably open source because the frontier added tons of guardrails, tons of layers of guardrails on the way to prevent you from doing anything that can be even security. So it's really hard even to protect yourself. But for example, OpenAI is giving for large companies. If you're a startup, I'm not sure you get access to it. A version of their latest model without the guardrails, so you can do it for security. But because it's centralized, as a startup, you won't have access to it.
Do you think there'll be like an LLM that's like specifically for cybersecurity?
Uh, it's a good question. So there's now a startup that raised a lot of money to do it. But the day after ChatGPT, like OpenAI, released a model for defense. They call there's one like red and one blue, one offensive, one defensive. So I don't know. It seems it's already happened. We even don't need to predict it.
Now that developers are using tools like Cursor and Claude Code to ship code twice as fast, are security teams actually keeping up or are they just shipping more vulnerabilities at a higher speed, do you think?
Both depends on the security. So for sure, developers ship more vulnerabilities. But there's the job of the developers and of security to review everything in the PR. And making like sure for example in my current startup that I'm building in stealth, we ship like probably hundreds of PRs every day, and on each one of them we run a security review. Most of our tokens are wasted on reviews, not only security, but like many of the like what also security, and basically every review to find bugs may also find security, right? So quality and security are going together, and most of our tokens going on this, not on development. So autonomy, like to have really autonomy, it requires like cybersecurity.
Oh, that's incredible. Do you see? I'm just wondering, so about what you originally saw, the opportunity with your company, um, do you see like tons of opportunities like that are ripe for disruption right now? Like all over the place, or
Yes.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
no, no doubt. Although cybersecurity is very packed, but it's huge market. Same for like same for the market for AI work. Um,
How has the market from cybersecurity changed from 7 years ago? I remember now there's like this crazy boom in it. Is it because of AI or I don't
yeah,
understand it.
it's because of AI. It's because AI creates more vulnerabilities, and that's one thing. And also because things are moving quicker, there is the focus shifts to the runtime. So actually both, but it means you need better security on the code, but also you need to have better security in runtime because you ship more code, and attackers are becoming like are exploiting vulnerabilities quicker. So even if you have a vulnerability, let's say you have an open source that you shipped Nginx, HTTP server, web server, it's now in runtime. Now there's a new vulnerability found in this container, in this web server. It's not your code, but it's code you rely on. It's in your dependencies. So this vulnerability, usually in the past, it took a few days, even weeks, to exploit it, which means to understand how to write code that will actually manage to use this vulnerability and hack into your system in order to hack to your systems. It's not so obvious. Most of vulnerabilities are not exploitable. Today with AI, the time between finding a vulnerability and public exploit about it is it's hours. That's why now companies trying to put more effort on runtime to prevent vulnerabilities, to mitigate from vulnerabilities that even not published, even not like known. So they will find them on runtime when attacker try to hack.
How AI is going to shape cybersecurity work, or
I think it's gonna be interesting. Like I don't know, but I think that's like an interesting conversation because there's something now like there is an intersection between security and autonomous AI. Security is always an enabler. A good like the best security, the best products, the best security products enable to do something, right? And instead of preventing doing something, that's in general a good principle about security. I think now with AI, it's even more like this because most of the organizations don't use autonomous AI. Maybe they use Cloud Code. That's kind of autonomous. That's the beginning, but it's not fully autonomous. You don't close the loop, right? You develop code. You don't do QA automatic.
can you just talk to me more about that? You talking about autonomous AI, and just can you just explain it and then break it down and just give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. So, like, let's say you're an average organization, even a tech company, so you're more ahead of the curve. Um, and what usually, where you will use AI today?
Like making code design,
Yeah,
images. Yeah.
good code design and ChatGPT and using chat and co-work. So there's the development that's really like that's more AI native, and there's all the rest that use ChatGPT to draft emails, write text, write content. Amazing value. That's not autonomous. So Cloud Code is more autonomous, right? But it doesn't close the loop. So what you really need to have is to have all the processes in the company autonomous as much as possible. And then instead of the people prompting the AI what to do all the time, you want the AI prompt the people when the AI needs them. It should be exactly the opposite from where today. Because
When do you think? When do you
when
think that will be? I'm sorry.
it means okay, now we need human in the loop. Now we need someone like to help us to solve some bottleneck, solve some issue. All the other time it worked like autonomously end to end. That's closing the loop. And none of the companies are there, even like the advanced companies. And one of the reasons is cybersecurity, because in order to get an AI agent, give it tons of permissions, access to your CRMs, ERP, bank accounts, maybe. You need to be able to trust it, and in order for that, it needs to be secured. So that's why security is an enabler, and that's why you see so many, like, you know, I think also good cybersecurity companies that doing AI security. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges today.
I was talking to another cybersecurity entrepreneur, and he talked about how they're gonna do agents in like layers. How agents like are low trust, like intern first, and that's gonna be. What do you think? Can you just talk to me about that? And also, like, at what point do you think the agents, like you talked about, are truly autonomous, where they're gonna report back only when they need someone help? Is that a couple of years or?
I think that's one of them. Like make the agents prompt you instead of you prompting them. That's one principle of autonomy. But it's also about making them proactive, so they would work. They will do the work. It means they can work. They have access to everything they need. without you copy paste stuff or without you approving every step on the way. That's the main thing, and that they can do whatever they want. It's not a workflow that it's a well-defined step-by-step workflow. Now you do that, now you web search this, now you go to this system and do XYZ. It means you have a goal and then you let the agent work on it.
But that's a crazy level of intelligence. That's a synthetic.
The models
That's
are there.
crazy level, right?
The limiting factor is not the models, is not intelligence anymore. The models are smart enough to do that.
What's the limiting factor? I'm sorry.
It's like the factor that limits your ability to do autonomous. It's not intelligence. The factor is security. The limiting factor is security. The bottleneck.
Wow, that's crazy. Do you think that like so can you just talk to me? Are they gonna have like a Play Store almost where companies operate inside of like a safe Play Store, you know, like Apple or Google has that store where it's like all what do you think about that? I don't even understand. It's so complicated.
Mm, not sure why App Store.
No, I mean like there's gonna be like an area that's safe because then they don't have to worry about the security as much, or how would they overcome that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hope the market won't resolve into more centralized place. I think also, I hope it won't happen. You'll never know that all your AI would be consumed from marketplaces of OpenAI and Anthropic. I hope the world will be more decentralized, and I think companies really wants to have AI sovereignty. Um, you can't you can't be relied too much on the frontier. They have a lot of power. They don't have enough servers. It's not always good for your needs. OpenAI many times just decide this conversation. They flag it as it's happened to you that it's not safe, so we flag it. You don't instantly you don't have access to Fable only if you're US citizen, and it's super expensive. It's
How do
really
you think
expensive. Frontier
how do you
models.
think how do you think this is gonna change like in the like what do you think about that? Because like you said, there's a ton of problems with the status quo right now. And it's not even
So
really is it being addressed or
yeah, I think it's already addressed. You have really good open source models, open weights models actually, comparably cheap. You can get them, you can consume them from American with data privacy policy, with a good data privacy policy vendors like Fireworks or Sail or many others, and it's less than half the price. For example, GLM 5.2. So, so we're already there. A company that really care about AI sovereignty can already today route between expensive frontier models and frontier open weights models.
and then so what can you talk to me more about the when do you think the security problem will be solved for the autonomous agents?
Um, I think it's a startup. I think like a year or two. It
A year or
depends
two?
on how large your company is and how much is excited to try new things. If you're a late adopter, it will take you more time. If you're early adopter, you can already probably solve it.
Wow. What are you seeing? What are the most interesting things that you've seen that you've observed lately? Or
Yeah,
things that aren't to do with your startup that are kind of interesting. I don't know.
yeah, I know. That's that's life. You build something, you build it in the beginning, you'll hear about it. Well,
For the last thing, is there anything you want to say that you think would be interesting that you'd like anyone to know before we go?
I hope people build meaningful things, and companies will try to use AI to actually close loops and not only draft emails or develop code. I think that's the biggest message. And the best companies will be the companies that create this structure that is pro AI structure in the company, like the ownership the way the knowledge transfers is going to change. It needs already to change in order for a company to become like really autonomous with AI.